So I think you just have to accept the world's in the harsh reality of the world, right? Like you might have a lot of really good intentions and you might think that the world operates in a certain way, but you have to look at what actually is going on. This is it's a constant theme that I talk about on this channel, is to make sure that you just accept the world as it is, right? And the problem, it's not them, right? The problem is you. You have to accept it as it is and realize that there is a harsh reality that exists beyond what you understand, right? Like you might want the world to be fuzzy and lovey-dovey and all that kind of stuff, but ultimately it's not, right? And this is one thing that, yeah, I very much I struggle to come to terms with, but I completely understand it. That there is a harsh reality, right? Like when I first started my career, I couldn't get a job for 2 years. And, I had like a full-time tenure track job. And you look at the world and you say, okay, well, I'm not there yet. That's okay. I have to change who I am. I can't change them, right? And there's no amount of me wanting to the world to change and, be lovey-dovey and everybody, kumbaya and all that kind of stuff, and accept everybody. But so kumbaya is like, uh, the way I imagine it is you're sitting around, you're at a Bible camp, and everybody's sitting around singing beautiful songs around a campfire. Um, that's not reality, right? The reality is often very harsh and you have to accept it, right? You can either say, hey, um, they're wrong and I'm right, and never come to terms with it, right? Or you simply say, well, that's the way that the world is. All right, let's move on, figure out a way that we are going to smile through this, get back up and do it again and repeat. And there's not much else that you could do, right? Like you just have to accept the world as it is. And um, you might want to change things. You might think that, yes, there's a better way and all this sort of kumbaya, lovey-dovey kind of stuff. Or, this is the hard thing when it comes to science and research is that, yeah, there's often, it's very clearly often that there is a better way, like super clear. Um, but you're one little tiny piece of the puzzle. You're only telling a little tiny story and then you got to accept it and move on, right? You have to be like, okay, well, guess it's just not ready, right? And you say, I'm fine. I love who I am, and I'm going to take a step forward today. And that's often the truth behind a lot of things that happen in your life, right? You're like, okay, well, that didn't go as planned. I'm going to take it, get a punch to the chin. But I'm going to be like, all right, let's go. Giddy up. And because, there's two ways, right? Like there's three ways, right? Like you take it in the chin and you kind of curl up and you give up, right? And you're like, oh, I'm never going to do this again. Or you take it in the chin and then you say, well, the world is horrible and I can't, deal with this. Um, and you sort of deny reality in terms of what it actually is, right? And nothing, you can't make progress. You can't tackle hard things, and you don't. If you deny reality, right? So one of the things is like, yeah, I kept getting, my teaching ratings. They were great, but they weren't like super great. And the truth was, I was just I was providing too rigorous and too thorough of a class for what was expected of me, right? And I had to accept it and say, all right, so I'm going to take a step back and you know they're not ready for it because I'm not in line with what the market wants. Um, and it's really just an acceptance thing. And you're like, okay, well, I can't be this rigorous. I can't make this like, um, if I want to keep this up, I have to play the game, right? And we play in a market-based system. I have to play the game, and I have to be just like, oh, whatevs, right? Like, and I know it's like super hard for people to say that, but there is no clear reality often. Um, and you just have to, you can either be super upset, fight things to the bitter end because you're right. And the truth is you probably are 100%, right? Like almost always you're 100%, or you can just accept it and say, well, that didn't go as planned. Let's get going. Accept exactly what is given and move on and love yourself as you're doing this. It's such a one of these things where you just have to simply come to terms with acceptance with the world as it is. And you might know 100% this is the trouble, this is what you're going to face if you're doing, in a research career, or, that you may know better, right? Like, I think that genuinely is the truth. That there probably is better ways of doing things and that we do know things, but you can't change the world, right? The world, you have to accept it as it is and you move forward. Say, wow, that was craptacular. Accept, go on, get up, keep repeating, and just learn to have the inner strength where you can deal with this, right? Otherwise, you're going to stop and you're going to think that, you're going to start internalizing things far too much. You just can't, is what I'm saying. Work on the not internalizing thing and just accept the world as it is, right? You're like, well, okay, let's move on. That's it. All right, take care. Have a wonderful day.